Hey guys, Adam here from Crooked Wood Furniture Company, the pretend company who will not make you furniture. I've had a few people ask about how to make these chairs, and I didn't do a plan, so I thought I'd just walk through it real quick and show you how to do it and walk you through, and then if you got questions you can message me. But if you do decide to make them, they're a lot of fun, and I hope you do it. Graley Parkdale is the name of the furniture. I don't know if there's a brand name or not. We saw them on Pinterest. We liked them. Wife wanted them. They're like $5,000, and I asked her if I could make them. I think I got about $500 of material plus some tools. So anyway, let's get started. Oh, today's beer of the day is Dos Equis. Here's my wife. She's coming around. Okay, so I wanted to walk you through. You'll see that they're basically the same thing on every one, whether it's a chair or if it's a sofa or if it's a love seat. The only difference is the width. And the width, each one of those cushions is 25 inches wide. So if you want a sofa, you get 3 cushions, it's 75 inches. And by 75 inches, I'm talking about, I don't know if you can see that or not, I'm talking about this long piece down here, okay? And then these over here, the sofas, or excuse me, the love seats are 50 inches long. And then over here, these are 25. I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room, like made them 25 and a quarter, but I don't think you need to do that. The cushions slide in there nice and tight. So, all right, let's walk through the different pieces here. These are dining chairs. You can see they sit underneath our table. So you can make the legs basically whatever height you want. And what I did is, all of this is 2x4 Douglas fir lumber. So I'm sure you could use whatever you wanted. I know you can use cedar for outdoor furniture, but man, it's so expensive. So I went with this, and hopefully it lasts. So what I did on the legs is, you're going to need a lot of glue. And each one of these legs is glued 2x4s. And so you're going to need a lot of clamps, you're going to need a lot of glue, but then you glue these and clamp them up, and then once you do that, I ripped them with a table saw to make them 3 inches by 3 inches. So, because you know a 2x4 comes and is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, but I ripped them down so that they're 3 inches by 3 inches. When you glue them together, that gives you your 3 inches, but it's a little bit too long, so I ripped a 1/4 inch off each side. And then on the braces, let me show you that. Now what I did is, the front piece, the back piece, and the upper back piece are all glued together 2x4s, and then I ripped those down as well to 3x3s. And then in the middle I just did individual slats. And then, you know, just make sure each one of those is the same length. Again, on the chair it's 25 inches. From there, you know, I don't know if you can kind of see them, but inside of here, I think it's called Craig, K-R-E-I-G or something like that. It's a pocket hole jig, and it clamps onto there, and then you can drill a pocket hole down in there. And shout out to Sailor Wolverton, she helped me. She's a little girl across the street. So you drill those in there, and then on the other underside, they're drilled as well, and you can see that they're drilled down there too. And then once they're drilled in, there's all kinds of YouTube videos on there, but I tapped in a dowel. I bought some long dowels and cut them down, and then put a little glue in there and hammered them in there, and then sawed them flat. Let's see, from there, so that's how you get the frame of it. And you want to make sure it's square. There's probably a better way to do it, but I used a ratchet strap to go from the front leg to this back leg here to kind of keep it square and tight. And build yourself a brace. And let's talk about the braces for a second. It matters if you're doing a lounge chair or a dining chair. So the dining chairs they fit perfectly underneath here. and that'll obviously matter. But for us, dining table height is like between 29 and 32 inches. So these legs are 27.5 inches long. But my shorter one over there, right in front of you, is our lounge chair, and those are only 24 inches long. So let's walk through the cuts again. 25 inches for all the middle braces, and the front, back, and top back are all doubled and glued. So you glue them, sand them, and then get them in here, and they're all the same length, 25 inches. If you do 25 1/4, that's okay too, or if you find cushions for a 24-inch chair, that's fine. Just cut them down to the length that you want them. Just make sure every single one of these is the same length. That's really important. These pieces here, the legs on a chair, are either, if they're going to be dining height, you want them 27.5 inches long. And if you want them lounge height, they sit a little lower off the ground, then you're going to want them 24.5 inches long is what I did. The armrest on top, these are just about the only piece on the whole thing that you don't rip down to 3 inches. That way it hangs over a little bit and gives you a little bit more of a sturdy armrest. And those are just 2x4s that are 30 inches long. Nothing fancy there at all. The X's are kind of the pain in the butt. Have a good miter saw and make sure you're cutting straight angles. And then one piece is a solid piece. And that piece from tip to tip is 27 inches long. But what I would do is cut yourself a 2x4 and again rip it down so that it's 3 inches wide. But give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. So the first cut up here is 57.5 inches, or excuse me, 57.5 degrees, assuming that everything is square. The challenge I ran into is you can get these at 57.5, and you can see that the miters are parallel. So if you cut one here, you got to flip your board over because it's, and if this is your first time running a miter saw, you'll probably mess up like I did. But you can see that the angles run parallel. There's one here and one there. And then what I did, and I wish I could show you this, take another 2x4. Again, these cuts up here are 57.5 degrees, sorry. Cut that, and then hold it as close to flush in here on the outside of here, and then take yourself a pencil and mark that angle. And then of course always give yourself a little wiggle room, and then you can kind of tap those in there and get them tight. To screw those in, the long ones I use, I don't know if you can see up there or not, but I drilled holes in the bottom of these. Before I stuck them in here, I drilled a pilot hole, then I countersunk them in there with a drill, and then I used 2.5-inch screws to go up in there. No, excuse me, 2-inch screws. You just want to make sure you don't go through the top here. So anyway, really not that hard. They take me a long time, which is why I won't make them for anybody else, because they're like 12 hours a piece. But it was fun. I had a blast. Lessons I learned on stain. It says use a light coat. I had never done exterior stain before, and it's really easy to put on too much stain. Really, really easy. And I got better as I went, but you can see here, it's all smeary on the inside. What I started doing later on was staining all of these before I put it together, which I highly, highly recommend. The only bad part about doing that is when you put in these pilot holes, you're going to have to sand down because your plugs, are going to stick out a little bit. So you sand them smooth and then you got to restain. So, these chairs, I like to say they're just like me. They're full of imperfections. So you'll probably have the same thing unless you're a superstar at this stuff. But it was worthwhile. Let's talk cushions for a second. Crystal got these cushions, and we really liked the color. But I tell you, the brand was Allen and Roth, and she got them online. They're not cheap. They're like over $600 for all of them. But I didn't like them because the padding in them was so soft. You know, there hardly wasn't any padding in them at all. It was this crap, and it comes with 3 layers, and you just kind of sit right through them, and then your butt is digging into those cross beams on your chairs, and that's no fun. So we went to Joann's, and Joann's got a coupon right now for 50% off, so be looking for that if you're going to do that, because stuff is really expensive. But they got this high density foam, and I would definitely recommend getting that. They're just so much more comfortable. And then what we did is we took those extra pads that I just showed you, that white stuff, and stuffed them into the pillow backs. And now these chairs are super comfortable. They're super sturdy. Use 2.5-inch wood screws is what I used on everything. And yeah, I think you'll like them. You're gonna need a table saw, a miter saw, a drill. You're gonna want a long number 2-inch or number 2 Phillips head, like bit. You can't do this without that Craig, or however you say it, pocket hole jig. That thing will make a whole lot better use of your time. And then glue. You'd be amazed how much glue you use. And then wood filler. You know, from time to time you'll, like on these armrests, you can see, if you look real well, you don't even have to look that close, but I drilled in the drills here, and then I filled them in, and then I stained them. So oh, and then the last thing, the good thing about these 3x3 is on Amazon, I can't remember the name of the company, but I can look it up. They make these rubber 3x3 footings that just fit real nice and snug. And I ordered one set because they're $12 for 4 of them. But that way your furniture is, you know, off the ground and not getting too wet at the base, and then you're not damaging them every time you drag them around, because they are heavy. Anyway, those are great, so I'll be getting more of those too for everything else. But all right, if you got more questions, thanks. If you don't care, sorry, and we'll holler at you later. This is Adam from Crooked Wood Furniture Company, the company that will not make you real furniture. See ya.